But the true cost of things, you can apply it to anything. You can
Guys,
protect,
this is
but
a
also,
3K phone. What the hell are you talking about? You
but
guys are
also,
using fancy
but
phones.
also the true cost of like even a burger, for example.
Right.
The true cost of what you pay for it is not actually the true cost of it. It's far, far more expensive.
Of course.
But I mean, that's the same theory we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the solution to that is, I don't know, unknown. But anyway, this is what we want to talk about today.
And also another
Okay,
thing
okay,
that
okay.
I
I
think
hear you.
would help is putting anti-lobbying laws in place, because government's main purpose is to protection of its people. But once we start lobbying for government to overlook protection of the people, it's a profit business. So they need to be held responsible to create the laws that if you want to produce a renewable energy product, at least 60% of the product should be renewable. Use recycled materials, use stuff that it'll slow down the production, but it will help us find a more sustainable solution going forward than trying to produce at mass from the get-go, and we cut a lot of corners.
Is regulation in this country helping at all? Is there development in that sector to create regulation so that products like this are supported, from tax to distributions to value chain? Is there any development there?
There's a lot of talk.
Hey,
There's a lot of, I'm actually gaining weight from sitting down at seminars at very nice hotels where they pay your food and we just talk.
It's like
no action.
when you're dealing with policy, you're talking about a very long road. Normally, it takes some sort of crisis event of some sort for the policy to really shift.
Yeah, but we've been here for a long time. I
Think
would
about-
imagine it
think
started
about-
a long time ago.
We were talking about this before you arrived. Think about it now. So Trump has been inaugurated. So in one sense, it's really good for business. A lot of people
Yeah.
make a lot of money.
The next 4 years at least.
But it's not going to do any favors for
The environment.
the miners in the DRC.
Yeah.
For example.
Yes.
So it's like there's pros and cons to every moment, I guess.
To it. And elaborating on what he said about Trump, for example, he already signed an executive order to leave the Paris Climate Peace Accord. So with America, like them being one of the pioneers of any
First
type
world.
of industry, it takes us 4 years backwards. For the next 4 years, there is no conversation about climate. We'll talk about fracking, we'll talk about oil, we'll talk about,
Yeah.
we'll go backwards, and then the next leader comes in for 4 years, and then maybe he's pro-climate.
Yeah.
And then we'll take 4 years to try and make 2 steps when we took 8 steps backwards.
Is this subjected to his age? Is he that old that he doesn't care?
I don't think he's ever cared. But look, it's not about Trump or Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
It's just generally like leadership roles when you've got stakeholders in your leadership.
Yeah.
And it's not even about whether it's America or any other or northern Europe. Any sort of country has its players and its lobbyists and have their vested interests. It's not like, oh, it's just because America is one of the most powerful countries in the world. They regulate policy around the world, whether it's their government or not. They have leaning. They can lean on anyone. It's I don't know. I didn't want to get into policy discussion because policy is where, for me, it goes down the rabbit hole.
But
The
my point
solutions are
around
clear, policy is different.
my point around that was just, can this product survive without proper regulation in place? Can we get movement? Can we see these products being used in the everyday life without proper regulation?
And also, again, going back to the optimistic scale, there is something, as much as we say the renewable energies, if you look at the full cost, like he elaborated well, there is draw down to it. But there's also positive to it, It reduces a certain amount of emission that's going to the world,
Of course.
And other countries are then also, less developed countries, also taking that stance of, let's try and integrate some certain percentage of renewable energy within. If you look back to a few years ago, it was all harmful emissions to the environment. So there is that optimistic stance that there are people talking about it, there are people doing stuff about it, and it's not a switch that turn it on and off and happens overnight. So there's also a lot of optimistic things you could look into that promise you a better future.
Okay.
It's like if you're a country and you make clean energy policies, your neighboring country will be like, oh, look, they've made those policies. Oh, but you can come mine at our place because then they'll make more money. It's all that kind. It's like America. They say their emissions have dropped. Why have their emissions dropped? Well, because they've outsourced a lot of
To other countries.
to China. So China's got
They're
huge
killing
problems.
China,
China's got
then-
huge problems now
Yeah,
in terms of their industry, which America used to have, but now they've outsourced it. But now they say, oh, but we're still doing the same thing. We're dropping emissions. No, that's actually not what's happened. Anyway,
All right. On the side of tech,
the dirty world.
yeah, this dirty world is a problem. What technologies are you using in these products? If I am an innovator and I want to get into this space, what do I need to know? Of course, I need to know electronics. I need to be able to source components from China and so on and so forth. But in terms of IoT and other technologies, maybe AI, what other technologies can I integrate into these products, and what skills do I need to learn for me to be able to create sustainable products here?
I think by the fact that you asked that question, you already have a big step into the door.
Okay.
With tools like your ChatGPT, your OpenAI, they allow you to ask them the right questions to guide you to doing the right stuff, you know. I'm not saying go there naively and say you're going to start building, but firstly, ask the right questions.
Okay.
How do I do something? You're going to fail. I'm not saying you're going to succeed. But when you fail, you learn something you did not know before.
Right.
So there isn't a certain criteria or skill or know-how that you need to have pre-entering.
Okay.
The only thing I'd say is have the ability to ask the right questions, and you'll find the right answers.
Okay.
Can I ask you a lighter question? Like, how's your day to day? Like, you've done lots of work, you've done lots of startups. Like, what's your day to day process? How do you keep pushing? You've got this ecosystem around you that works. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you don't. You know,
Yes.
what's your day to day?
My day-to-day is actually very relaxed,
Oh, nice.
because I'd say in
Solving
regards-
one of those tough problems, you have relaxed days.
I really enjoy that. So I have 3 friends, right? And they're also my co-founders. So my social circle is very, very small.
Okay.
My business circle is quite open. And then day to day, you try and impart discipline. If I set out a task that I need to do, I need to hold myself accountable to do those things. And then after that, you can sleep, you can relax, you can read a book, can play chess, there's paddle I do. So I'm very active as well. I'm very active. I play some soccer. So all those things give me a well-fit life. And
Okay.
unfortunately, I have no girlfriend, so I guess I have more time there.
What?
Yeah, I have no
By
girlfriend.
choice.
By choice. By choice.
Can I ask you about funding a little bit?
Yes, please.
You know, when I was searching a little bit about you before this session, I came across you must have been in the UAE at the time, and you mentioned that you in that particular TikTok. It wasn't your account; it was someone else's account, but they're interviewing you. You mentioned you had secured $10 million in funding.
Yes.
That was just last year, I think.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
So funding is much, and this is for the entrepreneurs and innovators who are listening. Funding is much easier to procure when you're outside the country versus inside the country.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of propaganda and misinformation that happens around anywhere in the world, you
Right.
know, unless you go there and see it firsthand.
Yeah.
So when you go there, you meet like people, and they really wanna help. They really wanna help Africa improve. And there's also people, everyday working people who have savings, and they realize that a bank isn't always my best option. They'll put
Yeah.
certain money in the bank,
Yeah.
but let me try and invest family funds. Let me try and invest in a business and see how it goes, you know. So it makes that much more easier, and the fact that the rand is weaker to foreign currency makes it much better.
Oh,
$10 million
interesting.
is a lot of rands.
It is a lot of
How did
rands
you raise that?
until you start spending them.
Yeah.
It's
Especially
for a
building
factory.
something
Yeah.
this expensive. How did you raise it?
So we use safes, a safe note.
Okay.
So it's basically it's us giving you equity at a later stage. Yeah. So that
Was it one investor or was it?
No, it was a group of 5 investors
Okay.
at 2 million apiece.
Okay.
Right. I think it was at a valuation of 25 million. So what happens then is when you raise it, we're raising for a factory, not for me. So people mustn't chase me down and think I have money, I'm broke.
He
But-
has 10 million US dollars.
When you convert it then into rands, you'll see it's like 300 and something million rand.
Right.
And then when you look at the reality of building a factory from get-go, it's like for a proper supply chain, it's like 400 million rand. So then you see you're still short to the end goal, to what and you still need to set up logistics. You need environment assessments, so all that whole
It's
process,
a lot of money.
it takes all that money away.
Yeah, I probably agree with you that stepping out of the country, your access to funds is far more viable.
But you still have to spend to get them.